I have their DVD. It's very, very beautiful. And they sing in all kinds of languages, and they have subtitles in English, Korean, Japanese, and Chinese. And there's one song that I listen to. It's in Korean. I hope that maybe somebody can help me write the words down in an alphabet I can understand so that I can sing it in Korean. It's beautiful. But the words are beautiful. The words are, it's a trio of three girls. When Jesus needed a bed, he had to borrow it. When Jesus needed a place to stay, he had to ask for it. When he needed a donkey, someone loaned him a donkey. When he needed a tomb had to be loaned to him. But the cross and the crown of thorns was his alone. Isn't that a beautiful concept? Everything he borrowed, but he did not borrow the cross. It was his. And the crown of thorns was his alone. And I would like to translate it, but I don't know I'll have to work on it, but I would like to learn it in the original tongue. But that concept, he gave and gave and gave. So let's learn to divide things. And there's offense and defense. There's giving and there's receiving. There's optimists and there's pessimists. There's detail people and there's global views. A little bit of everything. But the philosophy of there's plenty is something we need to start developing. Is there plenty? I mean, is that the reality? Is there plenty? Well, if you believe it or not, it depends on how you give. If you give almost up to everything you have and you share, yes, you actually believe that. If it's very hard to let go, then you don't believe it. In every language, we have words for people who don't like things. In English, what do we call people who don't like to give anything? Stingy, penny pinchers. In Spanish, we say tacaño. And in Mexico, they like to use the word codo. You're just an elbow. I don't know why. Maybe elbows don't give anything. I don't know. In Romanian, it's sgrcit. Kind of a hard word to pronounce, but it should be because those people are hard. I don't know what they are in other languages, but every language has. I don't remember what French is right now. But every language has a name for people who don't like to give. Adventists have tended to be stingy people. Now, you can say, we do more giving than most. Yes, that's true. But with all that we know and all that we have received, we tend to give a lot less than we should. Wouldn't you agree? And therefore, we receive a lot less than we should receive. There are a few specific things that Sister White says about aggressive warfare. On page 79 of Christian Service, she says, we have no time to lose. The end is near. The passage from place to place to spread the truth will soon be hedged in with dangers. On the right hand and on the left, everything will be placed to obstruct the way of Lord's messengers so they cannot do what they are able to do now. We must look our work fairly in the face and advance as fast as possible in aggressive warfare. That doesn't sound like a vacation, does it? What we can do today, we have to do today because in the future, everything will be placed to block your move. To travel, to transfer funds, to build buildings, to get on satellite, to develop programming. Why, even Canada, I understand, has, regularly advancing more and more stringent laws toward being able to preach the straight truth. In Australia recently, two pastors, evangelical pastors, were arrested because they happened to mention some of the things that were taught in the Quran. And they mentioned them in their sermon, and they spent 2 years and $200,000 trying to defend themselves. It's becoming to the point where you can't say anything about anybody, even if it's the truth. And someday, preaching Daniel and Revelation will be considered a hate sermon. It's happening already. And there's certain other agendas out there too that you have to be careful about. So, when I was preaching this in Vienna, a couple of young men, one young man, there was two of them standing together, one young man, he said, "Excuse me, Elder Gates, I'm from Germany. And we in Germany, we don't like to hear the word warfare. Would you mind using a softer word?" I said, "But that's what it says." "But you don't understand, you see. We came out of Second World War, and we don't like to talk about war. So when you come in and you say aggressive warfare, we don't like words like that. Would you mind softening them up. But that's what it says. But we don't want to hear it. But that's what it says. You see, warfare is not a pretty word. Warfare is an ugly word. But it expresses the ugliness of the difficulty we find ourselves in this planet. War has been declared already on us. Because the dragon went to make war with who? The remnant of the seed of Jesus Christ. His plan is to exterminate God's people. And that'll be the issue until the end of time, getting rid of every single person that honors and trusts the Lord. So, it's not so much that you are trying to remain peaceful, or the world's at peace and we're declaring war. No, war has already been declared. If you're at peace, then you still are at war. It's just that you cannot fight back. What God is saying is, war has been declared, you're in it, you cannot avoid it, now get busy with your job. And therefore we must look our work fairly in the face and advance as fast as possible. When somebody goes to war, do you apply for a visa? Do any of the soldiers ever apply to the enemies for a visa to enter their country to attack them? No. Those who go to war, they just land and they attack. And should you ask permission of the devil to enter his territory? No. Because you're there to destroy the works of the devil. So, we have a mission. Our mission can be easily expressed by several things that we know already. Let's begin with Matthew. Let's start right there, and let's repeat some. Matthew 24:14. We know that we just read it today. And this gospel of the kingdom, Jesus said, will be preached in all the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end will come. Okay, so we say, well, before the end can come, I have to preach to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. And then, as Jesus was about to leave, his closing words, the Great Commission, as we know, he said, go therefore, that's in Revelation 28:19, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. There we have the last parting volley. As Jesus leaves, he gives the order. The general says, go into all the world, and in Revelation 14 we have to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. So we have our orders. The question is, what are you going to do with those orders? Well, when we went to Guyana, we decided that we could take the risk because we had orders. How do you know what's presumption and what is faith? Why, some people think that if you take a risk, it's presumption. Have you considered that possibility? If you do something that's totally impossible, that nobody in their sane mind would do, that's presumption. But if you look up the word presumption in the Bible, you'll find that the word presumption is used to express the disobedience of Israel when they refused to cross the Jordan and conquer Canaan. And then, of course, God told Moses, okay, I accept their choice. Go back into the desert and spend the next 40 years and die. Oh no, we don't want to do that. We've changed our minds. We're going to go take the Canaan. Again, they acted presumptuously. Why? It was disobedience. So, when you act presumption or presumptuously, when you are tempted to be presumptuous, you are acting in disobedience to God. If you look in the spirit of prophecy for the word presumption, you will find that it's mentioned always in relation to sin. Always sinning against God. Whenever